Guys, just before we started this video, and I know it's just me, but I wanted to say thank you very much. We managed to really hit our like target on the last video of 25. I've got it in front of me. We've got 37 on the last video, which I'm so appreciative of. Picked up a couple of subscribers as well, and a lot of engagement in the comments, which James and I really appreciate. So I just wanted to say from me and James, thank you very much for that. And if I can be awkward enough to do it again, love to set a like target 40 for this video. So if you are watching, if you do like what you're hopefully about to see, I'm sorry it's just me, but if you scroll down, hit like, it just helps me and James out a bunch. Thank you very much. We'll get into the video. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are. I know it has been about 2 weeks or so since you've had a video from myself and from James. James is somewhere, I think, sunning himself, I want to say Dubai or somewhere of that nature. James is having a whale of a time on his well-deserved holiday at the moment. I'm also away. I'm just south of Boston, Massachusetts in the US. So unfortunately, James and I coordinating with time differences and also all the stuff that we have planned during this holiday period has been very difficult. But we did obviously want to come to you after this horrible, draining international break with our Premier League predictions for Game Week 5. It is just going to be me, unfortunately. Sorry about that. But let's look at how we did on Game Week 4. So you'll see here the total at the bottom here. Me with 7 points, James with 7 points. Unfortunately, as you guys well know, that means that we're still tied as we were tied from before. We're now on 28 points apiece. Obviously, shout out here for James, because James managed to get the Brighton Newcastle result 3-1, which I thought was very impressive. In terms of getting the results right for James, didn't have such a strong week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I managed to get a lot of correct results, but no correct scores, so I lost out on points there. But we're still tied at 28 apiece. And obviously, I'm sure you can see as well, we're doing something a little different this time. We're going to share the screen as we have access to on Zoom here, and then you're going to actually be able to see our scores on the screen. I know that a couple of you guys have wanted that as well, so hopefully this will work out well for you guys. So James has left me a few notes, but this video is likely to be a little bit quicker, purely because it is just me and I have nobody to bounce off of. So first of all, let's highlight this row. And here we are, Wolves versus Liverpool is the first game back from the international break. Look, James and I have both got the exact same score here. I think it's the same problems that we've talked about for a long time now with Wolves. Again, I'm still very optimistic and very excited about the Wolverhampton Wanderers squad, and I think there's a hell of a lot of talent. But the issue is there's just still no end product. I still have a lot of faith in Sasa Kalacic coming back from that horrible knee injury. We've seen at least 2 or 3 glimpses so far of this season of a proper traditional big-bodied athletic number 9 who's capable of finishes that aren't just kind of side foot passes or routine finishes that you'd have from maybe midfielders or wingers, proper number 9 type finishes. So I think that's going to be the main thing for their goal threat. I don't know if we're going to get that ever from Matheus Cunha, as talented as he is, or Fabio Silva, as much as he has a lot of hype as well. So again, at home, can they get 1 goal against this kind of leaky Liverpool defence? Yes, absolutely. But in attack, so far so good for Liverpool. Some of the signings are settling in quite well. Managed to retain Mo Salah, it seems. So I think Liverpool will just be more than capable of dispatching Wolves, even though they are away from home. James and I have the exact same score on that one. Okay, moving along to the next game. Sorry here as I fumble around with my fingers here. James and I, again, same result, Villa versus Crystal Palace. Yeah, guys, Aston Villa, they're really emerging as an actual proper top team. The recruitment has been absolutely fantastic. You've got one of the, I'd say a B+ tier of coach, A- tier coach in Unai Emery, who's very capable of winning silverware and being competitive at the very top of the game. Lots of talented players being brought in. And, we're now talking about players who won't start for this Aston Villa team and will be rotational players, like maybe the likes of Nicolo Zaniolo, just as an example, right? Douglas Luiz is still terrific. Obviously, the loss of Tyrone Mings is going to be brutal, but again, bringing in somebody like Pau Torres, I think is very helpful to maybe cover some holes there as well. And again, the attacking threat's great. I still don't think we've seen the very best of Ollie Watkins, but I do think that we're due a spell here shortly, and maybe it will come in this game. I do find myself constantly undervaluing Crystal Palace and what they can offer, but I would say that scoring a goal away from home, maybe keeping it somewhat competitive is something well within their wheelhouse. We say this all the time, but Roy Hodgson is exactly the kind of coach where you're never going to mess up too badly with, but you're also never going to overachieve. If you just want a steady Eddie who can, if you have an expectation, he can hit it, or at least one place above or one place below, Roy Hodgson's going to be that guy. But if you're an ambitious football fan and you want what's best for Crystal Palace, you do need to start taking, risks with some other coaches. I know those risks haven't paid off thus far, but you can't keep going back to Roy Hodgson. The man's 76 or whatever he is, his time's coming here. So yeah, still no major differences for me or James here, just in the score lines. Moving on to the next game, Fulham versus Luton Town. Again, I'm going to try and keep this one very, very brief. Luton Town are horribly ill-equipped to remain in the Premier League. Funding, infrastructure, you name it, they should not be in the Premier League. Again, they should be there because they've earned it. They made it through the playoffs and had some fantastic performances when it mattered most, and obviously they deserve that. But this is a level way too high for them. I've made this point from the very beginning. Derby County's worst record ever in the Premier League is under threat with this Luton Town side. I think there's the odd home game against a really big team where if they can get really up for it and get some luck and all that kind of stuff, maybe they'll pull off some upsets. But more often than not, they're not going to score and they're definitely going to concede. So away from home for a kind of revitalized and fired up Fulham team, I can just see this going one way. I've gone a little stronger than James, 2-0 to Fulham. James has gone 1-0. But again, I'd say a relatively routine home win for Fulham. Next up, Manchester United versus Brighton. I do actually have some notes here from James, so I will read them as if I were him. I'm not going to attempt to do an accent from James or any of his ways of talking. I've got Man United 2, Brighton 3. Again, guys, there's a serious injury problem at Manchester United at the moment. Lots and lots of injured players. Supposedly, the entire injury list is back to full fitness, or at least back in training by the time that this game rolls around. But this is a huge game. If there's back-to-back losses to Arsenal and then at home to Brighton, I think that's really, really tricky. And I'll be honest with you, especially with the injuries that have been taking place. And is Sofiane Amrabat going to be the guy? Lots of stuff with the Mason Greenwood thing. Anthony, is Facundo Pellistri going to be the guy starting at right wing for Manchester United in this game? Again, it doesn't look as good as maybe as it should. I thought Rasmus Højlund looked fantastic in his kind of cameo appearance against Arsenal. So I assume he will start and we'll start seeing big things from him. But again, this Brighton team are a well-oiled machine. Signing even the likes of Ansu Fati on loan for a season shows you what Brighton are capable of, even in terms of a pull for them as well. But I just see them having way more than this quite suspect Manchester United defence. Even if Lisandro Martinez is back from injury, which it looks like he will be, I think Victor Lindelof and Lisandro Martinez against Evan Ferguson, João Pedro, Mitoma, all this kind of stuff. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is going to have a very nice game against Mitoma to stop him. So I've got Brighton just snatching it. Manchester United's unbelievably good home record, which they've had over multiple seasons now, I think is in danger of taking a hit. James has it as a draw, and I'll go through some of James's notes here. Man United can't afford to lose this game, especially at Old Trafford, but Brighton are rolling. I can't see them losing. So again, I think James has two teams that are kind of cancelling each other out and has gone for the 2-2. I do just have Brighton snagging it late. But again, this result wouldn't surprise me if it was Man United win, Brighton win, or a draw. This one, it's a game I wouldn't bet on, guys. If I'm giving you betting advice, which I wouldn't take from me anyway. Okay, moving on, Tottenham versus Sheffield United. James and I both by 3 goals, the margin here. Again, similarly to Luton Town in many ways, but maybe with a little more Premier League experience. Sheffield United are horribly, horribly ill-equipped to be in the Premier League. I do think the way that both clubs have operated in the off-season does suggest, though, that we're likely to see two teams that are just happy to take their money, take their parachute payments, try and rebuild. Luton Town maybe put some money into their stadium, training facilities, whatnot, get younger, and then try and come up again when they're better equipped to stay up. But Tottenham are rolling. Ange Postecoglou, again, I mentioned this in a previous video, but there is something about Australia, New Zealand, these kinds of coaches with that very much rugby style of coaching and mentality of accountability, no messing around. I know it's kind of, you guys might call it toxic, but, you know, being a man's man and all this kind of stuff, it works well for Spurs. Spurs are going to be a very easy to like team, a very fun team to watch, and also be quite explosive. Brennan Johnson signing too, how involved is he going to be? Because Richarlison's career at Spurs still continuing to fumble. Dejan Kulusevski, can he get back to his best? James Maddison looks good. I'm not going to lie to you guys, you know, it does look good for Spurs. And I think, you know, what an achievement if Spurs can make one of the top 6 places this season. I think I had them maybe finishing 8th or 9th. So yeah, serious achievement for Spurs. At home, I expect a very easy win against Sheffield United, and so does James. West Ham versus Manchester City. James does have notes on this one, so I will get to them. Yeah, look, I've got Man City winning this 2-0. I just think that this will be tight. You know, obviously some players out, some players missing. Have Man City looked amazing yet? No, they're usually quite slow starters, and then they kind of get rolling when Pep's new style for that given year kind of comes into play and comes into action a little bit. But again, I can just see this being 0-0 till the 60th, 70th minute, something like that. Erling Haaland scores a goal, and then obviously it just kind of goes from there. There's another goal to make it easier. That's what I can see. What you can see, though, and this is probably the most interesting part of the video, apart from maybe mine and James's disagreement on Man United Brighton, this is a huge swing for James if this comes off. James has West Ham United beating Manchester City 2-1 at home. James, West Ham has had a fantastic start to the season, and the first match back from international break will be difficult for City, especially away from home. West Ham's set pieces could be the difference in the game. I feel like we all know what James is saying there. He's giving a shout out to my guy, James Ward-Prowse. Yeah, look, again, I do think that James Ward-Prowse and that delivery working with this West Ham team is absolutely fantastic. And David Moyes, it's an absolute dream come true. I will say, though, that this Manchester City team is not a small technical team that we may have expected from maybe a Pep Guardiola team of old. This is a team with Rodri, with Ruben Dias, with Erling Haaland. There are some big, there are some big guys in this team. Their fullbacks are basically centre backs. These are big. It's a big team. I do think even away from home they'll be able to deal with it. But again, in my opinion, dead ball delivery in terms of crossing from free kicks, corners and whatnot, I do think James Ward-Prowse is the best in the world, and that can be a difference maker. I don't hate the pick, and I respect James's bravery, courage going for it, but I'm going to stick with Man City winning and a brace for Erling Haaland. Thank you very much. Right, moving on to the next game here. Newcastle versus Brentford. Interesting game. Again, Brentford are a very difficult team to pin down, consider, and think about going forward. And obviously Newcastle, you know, as optimistic as everybody was early, you know, this is kind of a really big game for them. I do think they get through it by the skin of their teeth. I think this is going to be a team that's very motivated and feeling the fear a little bit. I did mention this in my preseason predictions. People are going to start playing Newcastle United differently. This isn't a team fighting relegation who you can kind of technically dominate the ball against, dominate territory, and then kind of play around and just see what happens where they try and catch you on the break. No, Newcastle United are a good team with ball players. You don't spend 90 million euros on somebody like Sandro Tonali, who, you know, is going to recycle possession and play nice progressive passes into half spaces and whatnot for the likes of, you know, Joelinton and Bruno Guimaraes and these guys, without then the opposition then adjusting their play style the way they play you. So again, Newcastle need to learn how to be more patient, learn how to be more technical, and learn how to play in smaller spaces. I do think they'll be able to do it. Callum Wilson, Alexander Isak, I just think they'll be enough for them to be able to break through. But I'll be honest with you, Brentford are a scary proposition, and they're hard to put your finger on as to why they're so great. And it doesn't seem like they're missing Ivan Toney too much. Does that affect his value as we get to January with teams sniffing around him? I've got it as 2-1. I think it will be much tighter, but I can just see a late goal, you know, at St James's Park to be able to change things. James has it a little more emphatic as 3-1. Okay, moving on to the next game here. Bournemouth versus Chelsea. James and I have both gone for the same thing. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna call James out here a bit because James saw all my scores on the spreadsheet before he put his in. So I wonder if he's copying me here a bit. Maybe he can respond to that. Yeah, 1-1. Look, Bournemouth are a good team. I like, obviously, and I know I'm repeating myself here, but I do like what the coach has come in and done. All the recruitment seems to be on point for what he wants, and that makes perfect sense. And especially at home, I think there'll be a tougher proposition. Yeah, guys, Chelsea are a scary, scary team because if it all comes together, I think this is the team with the highest chance creation, most passes. They've got all these fantastic metrics and statistics that point to having success in football. But, the most important one is putting the ball in the goal. Nicholas Jackson hasn't been that guy yet. We haven't seen somebody like Mihailo Mudryk come out and do his best game so far. Lots of injuries, soft tissue injuries as well for Chelsea as well, which is quite concerning. I think Romeo Lavia is now injured as well, so that's kind of scary as well. I just think it's going to be tricky for either team to score, and at Bournemouth there's going to be enough pressure for Bournemouth going forward for them to be able to maybe nullify Chelsea, who may still miss a bunch of big chances. But guys, the problem with Chelsea is Chelsea could have a game where they get hot and they score 4 goals. And we go, oh my God, here comes Chelsea. But then they'll have another game where they miss a million chances and we go, oh, it's the same old problems. I will say though, guys, as it was with Graham Potter got this huge long contract and this promise of a long-term project and investment and stuff. Mauricio Pochettino, much in the same way, we need to see some progression, because if he doesn't do any better of a job than somebody like Graham Potter, the likes of, and I should have said this in the Newcastle video, guys, Julian Lopetegui wants to still manage in the Premier League. And he's left Wolverhampton and he's ambitious. And Chelsea, Newcastle, not doing very well. If those coaches go for the chopping block, you have a bona fide top tier manager waiting to snap up those chances. And as much as Chelsea want to do this developmental thing, Julian Lopetegui will probably start winning games earlier. There'll be less of a development, but he'll win games because he'll find a way. Again, Eddie Howe, Mauricio Pochettino, Lopetegui is waiting to pounce if you guys aren't there. Comment here from James: Chelsea score goals and can't stop teams from scoring either. So he just has a score draw. And look, I'm with him, but again, I'm going to call him out and say that he's copied my score on that one. We'll see if he responds. Everton Arsenal. Yeah, look, I've got Everton can't score goals, guys. Everton can't score goals. The recruitment makes no sense whatsoever. There is no direction or anything to the way in which Everton have signed players over recent years. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, again, being a defensive forward or kind of a jack of all trades, master of none in the striker position is tricky. And sometimes you get your credit. I think of the likes of a Tammy Abraham, just as an example, a Danny Welbeck, right? He kind of falls into that category a little bit. They can score goals and they are capable, but they're kind of known for other things within their striking game. They can get hot and streaky, but it's not somebody to really rely upon. I just can't see Everton, even at Goodison Park, I can't see Everton scoring any goals at all against this Arsenal side, who are probably going to be feeling really good after that Manchester United result. There's an argument that the international break came at a bad time, which it seems to be what James is pointing to, and I'll get to his comment here in a second. But I've got Arsenal winning this relatively convincingly. Maybe a similar kind of match play out in terms of dominance as the Man City game. Maybe it's kind of close for a while, but then I just see Arsenal getting the breakthrough and then putting the pedal down and getting a second. James here has Everton winning 2-1. So James with some seriously hot picks this time around. We'll see how he does. Arsenal have lost 4 of their last 5 games at Goodison Park. So as you can see, this is something James does that I don't do. I don't look at the previous results. I don't look at history. I just get a feel for things as they're going forward. James does like to look back and look at the history a little bit, which I think helps inform him in terms of picks. Everton scoring 2 goals against Arsenal, I just don't see it happening. But James has Everton beating Arsenal 2-1. What a shock result that would be in, I believe, I want to say that's Super Sunday. Okay, final game of the week, Nottingham Forest versus Burnley. Yeah, I've got Forest winning this game 2-1. Again, I just think that there's something building slowly but surely at Nottingham Forest, and I do like them to, avoid relegation and start to upset a couple of teams. I do think that's where they'll start to go. Burnley, again, I think Vincent Kompany is going to be very stubborn in the way he wants to play, but I just wonder how long it's going to take for him while he's in kind of maybe battling relegation to retain his job, because when things start to get scary, a lot of money at stake, and there's plenty of managers who you could maybe get a new manager bounce around and secure some points. So I've got Forest winning this one 2-1. James has this one as 2-2, which again would be an incredible game of football. So let's hope we have that one. As per usual, you guys, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Put your comments down if you're playing along with us at home over these Premier League predictions that we're doing. We need to see them. We need the proof. James and I should be back next week with a video where both of us are in it. And maybe this is something we'll do. Let us know in the comments if you like this, being able to see my scores, being able to see James's scores, because I know that's something that's been requested before. I'm really excited to have the Premier League back. Really nervous and afraid of the next international break. But until next time, we'll see you.